Hello, everyone. It is time for news you can use, and we have quite a bit to cover. So, we shall start with the San Diego Union Tribune, and it is confiscated wheelchairs, dangerous bunks, no sign language. San Diego County jails are perilous for people with disabilities, suit says. I'm glad they're suing them. 6 deputies came up and forcibly removed me from my wheelchair, lifted me out of it, and put me in a vehicle to send me to George Bailey, one man says. Christian Esquivel, who is deaf and struggles to read and write, has been locked up in San Diego County Jail since late November. When he was taken to the jail's dentist for tooth pain, sheriff deputies did not provide a sign language interpreter who would have told him that the only option was to pull the tooth. I did not understand what the dentist, the jail staff, or anyone else was saying, Esquivel later told an attorney through an interpreter, according to a new filing in the lawsuit against San Diego County and its sheriff's department. I did not understand what was on the papers that they gave me, he said. I did not know that they were going to take out my tooth before they did it. Even worse, when Esquivel was contemplating suicide and actively seeking help from deputies, the jail staff continued to use written notes to figure out what he was trying to say. According to the court filing, it didn't work. Mr. Esquivel resorted to gestures in an attempt to communicate his thoughts of hanging himself, yet no interpreter was provided, it says. Esquivel is one of 15 disabled plaintiffs who recently submitted sworn testimony as part of the case, which seeks to require the Sheriff's Department to do more to protect the medical and mental health of people in custody. Some things could be done at no cost at all, like changing their sign language policy, said plaintiff's lawyer Gay Grunfeld. We're asking them to come up with a plan that provides safe and accessible housing. The Sheriff's Department could use the video technology, for example, to provide real-time sign language services to people in custody who need interpreters, Grunfeld said. So, yes, San Diego, you have some work to do, and sheriffs, you better get going. I'm sure you have some funds somewhere. So hopefully the lawsuit goes through, and the Sheriff's Department will be forced to have accessible plans and funds to assist people with disabilities. So that is just awful. All right, so this is from the BBC. So it's probably somewhere in London, but here we go. Cardiff, disabled people's 20-year railroad station access fight. 20 years, folks. Disabled people have been struggling to use one of Wales' busiest railways stations for more than 20 years. Cardiff's Cathay stations is the 7th most used in Wales, yet people with mobility issues and wheelchair users cannot easily cross platforms. The footbridge between the two platforms, oops, my page moved here, sorry about that. So the footbridge between the two platforms has no lift, and the Transport for Wales TFW website describes the steps as steep. TFW said a proposed accessible bridge was part of the South Wales Metro. The station is right next to Cardiff University, so Alice Moore, who represents students with disabilities, said it was a really important aspect to public transport for students. She said the city's good transport link were no good when disabled students, arguably the students who need it the most, are excluded from using it. So there's a picture of the stairs going up and students looking a little puzzled. Kat Watkins uses a wheelchair and often commutes from the Swansea to Cardiff. She opts to drive to work in Cathays most days due to the access problem at the station. She said TFW suggests that people extend their journey in order to get the right platform was such a hassle. It's not as simple as they think because you've got to wait for your train and then wait for another train, the 36-year-old said. So yeah, they have to go further and then get on another train to come back to get to the college. A spokesman said the company was committed to improving accessibility at stations throughout the Wales and Borders network, and work is guided by our dedicated experts who advise us how to support disabled, deaf, older commuters to use our services effectively. Cardiff University said it shared students' concerns and would work with TFW and others so people could have a fully accessible station in Cathays as soon as possible. Yay. Good luck to Wales. You have some work to do. So, disabled rights protest before Paris Olympics draws pledges. So this one's really interesting because we have the Olympics and the Paralympics that are going to happen in France. So here is what's happening with the people with disabilities. Angry about decades of unmet promises, people with disabilities protested in France Wednesday by showing how difficult and frustrating it is for them to travel alone by train into Paris, delivering a stinging rebuke to government inertia before the 2024 Olympics and Paralympic Games. President Emmanuel Macron, hosting a national conference on disabilities, conceded failures, noted slow progress, and promises concrete action for France's 12 million people with disabilities, including ahead of the Games. This world is not a parallel world, Macron told the gathering. I want this world to end being a world of silence, that people with disabilities be heard, be present, and visible everywhere in our society. He pledged 1.5 billion euros, which is $1.65 billion, to improve accessibility, targeting small establishments, receiving the public from restaurants to administrative locals and taxis, train stations, and trains. Details and timelines are to be worked out before the summer. Macron also promised full reimbursement for wheelchair purchases in 2024. Today, many disabled people in France face a constant struggle. In the town of Melun, on the outskirts of the French capital, Babos-Saint, 31 had to get out of the wheelchair he uses and shuffle with help down and then up 2 flights of stairs to catch the 11:15 suburban train to Paris, Gare de Lyon, which connects to the only fully accessible metro line in the future Olympic host city. Other people with disabilities had to stay behind, continuing the protests with placards denouncing limited access to public services. Their electric power wheelchairs were too bulky to be carried on to the Paris-bound train platform. Helpers carried Sean's smaller hand-push chair and assisted him on the stairs, navigating the gap between the platform and the train. It's frustrating, really frustrating, not being able to get around, Sean said. The feelings are of anger, frustration, revolt, and resignation, because in fact, despite the fights undertaken, the impression we have is that we're not listened to, despite all of our efforts. Sean works at the APF France Handicap, which lobbies for disabled rights and organized the protest. It was among the groups invited to Macron's national conference on disabilities. So President Macron has some work cut out for him before the Olympics, and hopefully, a big event like this will trigger improvements. And hopefully the improvements will be permanent and will be well done so that the Paralympics go well. So from there, we go from to the news from Stockhead. Let's see. Dr. Borham's Crucible. Control Bionics world-beating wheelchair is more than a victory for mind over matter. Amid the hype using artificial intelligence, AI, for anything from robotic call centers to writing biotechnology columns, Control Bionics' new chief executive Jeremy Steele is skeptical about the use of technology for technology's sake. That stance may seem perverse, given the company has used technology, including AI, to develop the world's first autonomous wheelchair system called Drone. And we've talked a little bit about this. This is the wheelchair that they're trying to develop, in which you can use your mind and other small muscles that you still might have. So the stance may be perverse, so we read that one. Steele's points is there are many nonsense claims about the benefits of artificial intelligence, but solving problems with technology is not easily done. Yeah, we know that. When people use it, they are struck by how simple it is, but it belies the point of how difficult it is to do, Steele says. We are the world's first because it is not an easy problem to solve, though control in a good way. At its core, Control Bionics is about enabling disabled people to use their own brain to muscle electrical signals to control communication and movement. That's something else. NeuroNode deploys electromyography, EMG, which is about capturing and processing neuroelectrical signals into electronic commands. The technology also enables a person to control a cursor with their eyes and then select an item from where the cursor lands. So we already knew kind of the general idea behind the wheelchair. Control Bionics core tech NeuroNode uses algorithms to convert the body's neuroelectrical signals into code, which controls the devices. Other rival assistance technology devices require a keyboard, mouse, joystick, touch screen, or eye tracking function. So a watch-size wireless neuroelectric sensor, NeuroNode 3, combines NeuroNode with speech-generating software, while NeuroNode Trilogy combines NeuroNode with eye-tracking technology. A key selling point is that NeuroNode enables much quicker communication, which is even more important in the social media age. For instance, a user can respond instantly to a text or Snapchat message, so they feel more included in the conversation. Drove it myself. Drove is a module that can be retrofitted to pretty much any power wheelchair. Developed by Deakin University, which we read a little bit about, Applied Artificial Intelligence Unit, the device enables users to move their wheelchair to specific locations within their home. So we know in general where these new drone type wheelchairs are going. So, this is in Australia. So as a guide, alternate solutions for driving power wheelchairs retail for around $13,000 in Australia. The company cites a total addressable market of $2 billion for the global disability medtech space. So the market is significant, Steele says. Unfortunately, only about 2% get access to the technology, which is heartbreakingly small, which is very true. You know, all these specialized type wheelchairs that are coming out will not be accessible to the general public for a long time. So we wish Dr. Borham's projects, we wish him well, and hopefully this will be gradually more accessible to the rest of us. St. John's adding hybrid accessible buses to Metro fleet. Now, I kind of looked up where this came from. This is from the CBC News, which makes me think that this could be England or Wales, because we usually don't have Newfoundland or Labrador St. John's in the United States. So I think this is somewhere in Europe. The city of St. John's is adding 8 hybrid buses to the Metro fleet, which it says will also bring added accessibility to the public transit system. In an announcement on Friday at the Metro Bus Depot in St. John's, officials outlined a partnership deal between all 3 levels of government to support 18 transportation projects for St. John's in the surrounding area. The federal government is contributing $15.8 million, while the government of Newfoundland and Labrador is adding nearly $12 million and the city $8 million. Funding will support the purchase of 8 accessible hybrid transit buses to make sure conventional transit options in the city more accessible to wheelchair users. St. John's East MP Joanne Thompson told reporters Friday. The investment also is making it easier for residents to stay healthy and active by constructing new shared use pathways. So we'll see. St. John's Mayor Danny Breen said 49% of the city's greenhouse gas emissions from the public transit. Breen said that the buses and other projects are in the works, including smaller buses that could operate special routes, adding more bus shelters and constructing, constructing the new shared use pathways for pedestrians. So this is of course, a project that wants to include people with disabilities and help them get around. I'm hoping they are successful here in my own city. They are changing over to some type of hybrid electrical buses. And I'm curious to get on one of these new buses. They're also changing the way we pay for when we get on the bus. So some big projects are going on, I guess, around the world to make things more accessible. And I'm glad that we, the efforts that many of us have put in to speak up, for what we need is happening. And we stand on the shoulders of those who have protested and have requested these benefits before we did. So good luck, St. John's. We're hoping that all works out well and the people with disabilities are able to get around your town. So, folks, that is it for news you can use. Just remember that likes and subscriptions are completely free and also help the creator in their daily work of providing information to you or entertainment. So thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching news you can use. And any kind of subscriptions or likes will be much welcome. So take care, stay safe, and until the next time, this is Lisa with Power Wheelchairs for Success, and another series of news you can use.